What's up everyone, this is FP Sticks bringing you a team building video here for the Voyager Cup. The Voyager Cup is this month's Silph Arena Cup, and this cup style is pretty cool. You have to pick a Gen 1 Pokemon, a Gen 2 Pokemon, a Gen 3 Pokemon, a Gen 4 Pokemon, and then a Pokemon from Gens 5 through 8, and then a wild card pick, which can pretty much be any Pokemon other than a list of the top meta Pokemon that are restricted picks. So I think a great way to start off by building your Voyager Cup team is by this graphic made by GamePress. It looks like it was made by Lorma96 here, and a huge shout out to GamePress for all this great information that they provide. You can see in your slot 1 pick, these are some of the options that you could choose for your team here. We have like Wigglytuff, Clefable in the fairy spot. In the grass spot, Venusaur, Ivysaur, and Victory Bell. Anti-grass, we got some users there. I really like using Haunter as my Gen 1 pick. For anti-flying, you have Dugong, Lapras, a bunch of these other ice types. And another solid pick over here is Hypno. A lot of people have been running with Hypno for their Gen 1 pick there. Essentially, what I would recommend for building your team is actually starting with your second slot here, your Gen 2 slot. The best possible thing that you can do to statistically give yourself an advantage in your Voyager Cup tournament performance, pick a Azumarill. Pick a Azumarill for your Gen 2 spot. I'm not the biggest person who runs like fancy spice picks, but I know what Pokemon are good and I know what Pokemon are consistent. And when we look into some other top teams here that other top battlers have picked, you're going to see a lot of Azumarill. Azumarill, pretty much one of the best Pokemon in Great League. So the fact that you can have it on your team, you definitely want to consider choosing that. You can either run Ice Beam Hydro Pump, which most people opt for that moveset. It gives you some grass coverage as well as the Hydro Pump nuke against Registeel. Or you can run a Play Rough variant if you want to win those mirror matches out a little bit. Another great consideration is Umbreon over here. We will see some tournaments where people are running Umbreon as their second slot pick right there. For Gen 3, man, you got some tough options to choose between. You have Tropius, which is just a freaking monster of a flying type and a grass type. It's a grass type that can pretty much hang against all of the other grass types and threaten those fighters as well. You have Altaria, which, as we know, again, one of the best Pokemon in Great League. And I believe it's actually the #1 ranked Pokemon in the Voyager Cup right now. But if you do choose to run Altaria, you just need to be fully aware that almost everyone is going to have an Azumarill on their team, which is a very hard counter to Altaria. I personally enjoy going with Registeel right here as my Gen 3 pick. Registeel, another amazing Pokemon we know from all the Go Battle League that we've done in the Great League and in Ultra League. It's absolutely amazing, but it's one of the best anti-flyers that there is. It can beat all of the other tanks. It just has very consistent matchups. It's an absolute beast. You also have some mud boys over here like Swampert and Whiscash. Defense Deoxys, I've definitely seen a lot of people running Defense Deoxys, so a lot of things to consider for your Gen 3 slot right there. For Gen 4, again, there's a lot of really great options to pick from. Togekiss is pretty interesting. Haven't seen too many people run Togekiss. Majority of people I have found tend to run Toxicroak to get that fighting type coverage, to have something that really can threaten the Registeels. Toxicroak also has a lot of play against Azumarill if you're able to land the Sludge Bomb, as well as the grass types if you're able to land the Sludge Bomb. So really a great pick to consider. For my most recent tournaments, I actually went with Gallade, and I will talk a little bit more about my team as we get through this. But Toxicroak, definitely one of the most popular picks. Bastiodon and Probopass, if you're not running Registeel, are also solid picks as well. You pretty much need a tank to threaten those flyers out there, because otherwise they can have so many positive matchups. For the 5th slot, so gens 5 through 8, most people are rolling with a Alolan Marowak because it is a hard wall to Registeel. All of Registeel's attacks will be resisted by Alolan Marowak. I've also seen a lot of Melmetals. Again, if you're not running Registeel, Melmetal is an amazing option for an anti-flyer. I personally have really been enjoying using Scrafty for my fighter, because you get that great counter damage as well as having the dark type to throw foul plays at psychic types, which is really nice. Downside is that you are very heavily walled by Azumarill, and as we know, Azumarill is going to be everywhere. And for the wild card pick, honestly, I think one of the best wild card picks that you can choose is Meganium. I'm very surprised that Meganium is not a restricted pick. It is the bulkiest grass type other than Tropius, I believe. I actually need to double check their defense there, but Meganium's ridiculously bulky. You can beat Registeel, and you absolutely shred Azumarill. It's such a solid matchup. And because of its bulk and its access to Frenzy Plant, it just has a lot of great neutral matchups. Downside to Meganium, obviously you are completely walled by the Flyers. You don't really have anything that can hard threaten them there. A pick that has really been popping up a lot is actually Cherim, like Sunny Cherim. Now that the Bullet Seed rework has taken place, Cherim is absolutely nuts. Against Registeel, you can go straight Weather Ball and Threaten that, and you have the Solar Beam nuke to really threaten Azumarill as well. So Cherim's definitely something to consider. I've seen a lot of Alolan Mucks as well in the wild card picks. But this graphic is really great to take a look at, and I think this is a really good starting point. I will leave a link to this graphic down in the description so we can all check it out there. Now, next you should definitely head on over to PvPoke, their rankings tab here, sort by the Voyager Cup. This is going to tell you some of the best picks within this cup. So we can see Altaria, no surprise. All these Pokemon that are in kind of this yellow goldish color, these are the restricted picks, so they cannot be used within the wild card pick. We see Altaria, Registeel, Swampert, Whiscash, Swilus. Again, Swampert and Whiscash are going to be kind of overshadowed by the other strong Gen 3 picks that we have. Tropius, Bastiodon, Umbreon. Azumarill is surprisingly down here at number 9, but we still know how good Azumarill is. Definitely one of the top contenders. Skarmory, Venusaur, and Meganium right here you can see very highly ranked and is not a restricted pick. So really nice to have on your wildcard pick for sure. Flygon, very interesting. This is the Flygon with Earth Power. You beat Alolan Marowak, beat Toxicroak, Registeel, Bastiodon, so it's definitely a tank killer with that Earth Power. Top counters are against a lot of the Charmers here. But you're not going to see that many Charmers within the Voyager Cup, at least from what I've found in my tournaments. But definitely head on over to pvpoke.com, check out the rankings tab here and sort by Voyager Cup. This is going to give you some more great information for Pokemon to consider on your Voyager Cup team. So the next thing that you should do once you have decided what Pokemon you're going to be running with for your team is head on over to the Team Builder tab up here. Select the Voyager Cup. As you can see, I have entered in my 6 Pokemon that I've been rolling with on my team in some of my most recent tournaments. Scrafty, Azumarill, Meganium, Registeel, Haunter, and Gallade. And what you can do here is you click Rate Team. And what this is going to do is tell you how your team fares against some of the best Pokemon in the meta. So you can see against Altaria. Altaria has a lot of good matchups against my team. It's going to beat Scrafty, really beats Meganium, it's going to beat Haunter and Gallade, but it will lose to Azumarill and Registeel. So you can see all these other Pokemon, how they fare against my team right there. Something really interesting to take note of is this potential threats tab. So this is going to tell you what your team is weak against. Every team is going to have a weakness to something. Okay, just accept that. The most important thing that you can do when building your team is recognize what your weakness is and know how to play around it. I know that my current team is extremely weak to Flyers. Before I even made this in PV Poke, I knew it was going to be weak to flyers. So if you look at this, Noctowl has unbelievably good matchups against my team. Same with Tropia, same with Altaria. Those three beefy flying types are really going to give my team problems. But I kind of know some ways to play around that. If they have an Altaria, you better believe that I'm going to be bringing in Registeel and Azumarill to really help supplement that weakness. So these are some definite things to be aware of. These are the top threats that you're going to run into against your team. Now this number right here, this is your threat score of your team. You want this number to be as low as possible. Ideally below 600 is great. I know there are some people out there who it gets their threat score like crazy low, but every team is going to have a weakness, and it's way more important, in my opinion, for you to know what your weakness is and know how to play around it. So once you've decided on your team, really know your Pokemon, know your matchups, go on over to pvpoke.com, run your simulations, and know what your team can handle and what it can't handle. I'd like to really quick talk about my team and why I chose the Pokemon that I chose. I chose Haunter as my Gen 1 pick purely because this thing strikes fear in the hearts of your opponents. This thing is insane. If you give this thing a shield advantage, or if you're able to farm down a Pokemon and have a lot of energy, or you're able to correctly shield bait, there are so many scenarios where Haunter can just go on an insane sweep. It's absolutely amazing. However, I do feel like it is a very high risk, high reward Pokemon. If you know how to play it, you can really do well with it. And as long as they're not running a dark or normal type on their team, Haunter always pretty much has play in my line of 3 when I run it, because nothing is absolutely going to enjoy getting a Shadow Ball to the face, that is for sure. My Gen 2 pick is Azumarill, as we know, one of the most solid and consistent Pokemon. My Gen 3 pick is Registeel, again, very solid. My Gen 4 pick is Gallade, and the reason I picked Gallade is because you have play against Azumarill with your Leaf Blade damage, as well as Registeel with your close combat damage. Gallade functions very well as a switch-in if you can kind of guarantee that it won't get paired up against a flyer. It really does not like to see a flying type, especially Altaria. It's going to be resisting all of Gallade's moves, but that confusion damage is no joke either. I went with Scrafty for my 5th pick here, again, because I wanted a fighter. I wanted something that has access to counter for those dark types, if I do run into dark types, and especially those Registeels. And it also has access to foul play, and because of its dark typing, it's going to resist ghost type attacks, which is really great because a lot of people are going to be running a Alolan Marowak. So Scrafty can just go straight foul play in that matchup and very comfortably win a lot of that stuff. And then Meganium is my wildcard pick because I think overall Meganium is one of the wildcard picks that has the most value, again because of its bulk. You can threaten that core of Azumarill and Registeel, which you will see on so many people's teams. So let's take a look. This was actually a tournament that I participated in recently. I went 5-2 in it, which I was very happy with. It was a 7-round tournament. These tournaments always take a long time, but when you are looking at teams and when you're building a team, you always just need to keep in mind, can I handle Azumarill? Can I handle Registeel? Can I handle Altaria? Those are really the 3 main ones that you just need to always be aware of. Like, do you have enough answers to those Pokemon? So, for example, you can take a look at Dunebug's team here. Can he handle Azumarill? He's got Victory Bell. That thing shreds it. However, Victory Bell's not going to appreciate an Ice Beam, so you will have to shield up in that matchup. Toxicroak, we know if it can land a Sludge Bomb, can handle Azumarill. There is some play with Registeel. Maybe his Azumarill is running Play Rough to handle that matchup. Alolan Muck also has some play there. Can he handle Registeel? He's got Azumarill. If he's running Hydro Pump, definitely can handle it. Toxicroak for sure can handle Registeel. Alolan Muck, if utilized as a safe switch and you get 2 Snarls worth of energy, can definitely pressure Registeel. And Drifblim, surprisingly, is really annoying to deal with if you are running Registeel. It can get those Icy Wind debuffs, and the Shadow Ball damage is absolutely insane We can also take a look at Toshi's team here. Can he handle Azumarill? Defense Deoxys, if it's running Thunderbolt, definitely can handle Azumarill. Ferrothorn can definitely handle Azumarill with that Bullet Seed, change up, and it has access to Power Whip and Thunder. Great response. Can it handle Registeel? For sure. Defense Deoxys is a great response to that as well. His Azumarill is most likely running Hydro Pump. His Poliwrath can definitely handle Registeel. And what about Altaria? Poliwrath can handle Altaria. Azumarill totally handles Altaria. Frostlass is going to wreck Altaria. So this is a very well-rounded team here. Definitely some interesting picks in here, though. But you can see both these people still running Azumarill. And there is a Registeel on Dunebug's team. Toshi's rocking Defense Deoxys. You can see this team right here. So we do have a grass type of Venusaur. Venusaur is going to be a grass type that can beat a lot of the other grass types with its Poison Boost, which is really great. Azumarill, really solid pick. Can they handle opposing Azumarills? Venusaur can definitely do that. Maybe their Swampert is running Sludge Wave. Toxicroak, we know with Sludge Bomb, can do really great. Can they handle Registeel? Swampert for sure can. Azumarill, if it's running Hydro Cannon, can. And Toxicroak for sure can. And Alolan Marowak is an absolute wall. So looking at this team, man, they do not enjoy playing against a Registeel. And Registeel would be a very dangerous Pokemon to bring in against their team. Let's take a look at, I believe this was a tournament that took place in Mexico, I think. Stunfisk is super interesting. It's one of those core breakers, the core being Azumarill and Registeel. You have access to either Thundershock or Mud Bomb. Both are very high energy generation moves, as well as access to Mud Bomb and Discharge. Mud Shot for the fast move. Sorry if I misspoke there. But this thing can really hang with Azumarill, and it can really hang with Registeel as well. Absolutely insane. Zweilous is very interesting. I've definitely been considering Zweilous as well. You get access to the Dragon Breath damage, which, as we know, Dragon Breath is just an amazing move. Plus, the Dark typing gives you some added resistance to all the Hypnos that you're going to see. Check this out. Hypno, 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 Hypno. So many freaking Hypnos. Hypno is a very solid option for your Gen 1 pick. Here's someone rocking a Cherim Sunshine form as their wildcard pick and a Stunfisk. So two really solid mold breakers there. And they have Azumarill and Registeel to handle the Altarias. I really like that team right there. Ooh, I might have to try that out. That's looking pretty cool. So I highly recommend that you go on silph.gg and look at some of the other tournaments that have taken place. And just look at what other people are running. But when it comes down to it, you got to pick what Pokemon that you really enjoy. I think one of the worst things that you can do is keep flip-flopping back and forth and not make a decision on what Pokemon you want to run. Build a team, run it through the PvPoke sims, see what your weaknesses are, and then start practicing. Start practicing a lot, because you will learn a lot through battling. Again, you can study simulations and numbers all day, but knowledge is useless if you don't put it to work. So get your practicing in and really learn what your team can handle and what it's weak against. And I hope this video helps some of you out there building your Voyager Cup team. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, head on over to my Patreon. The link will be down in the description. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.